All right. Gotta say, I'm pretty excited for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're diving into Kevin Trudeau's free money they don't want you to know about.
Classic.
You sent over some of the excerpts, and, well, let's just say I'm ready to uncover some of these financial secrets.
Yeah, Trudeau makes some pretty bold claims, that's for sure.
Yeah. But it's fascinating, right? Like all this money just sitting there waiting to be claimed.
Oh, yeah.
Unclaimed assets, forgotten savings bonds, missed tax credits. It's like a financial scavenger hunt.
He makes it sound so easy.
You know me, I love a good challenge.
I do.
And that's what this deep dive is all about, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to uncover those hidden treasures and help our listeners make the most of their money.
And it's not just like finding a couple bucks in your couch.
Right.
We're talking potentially significant sums that people are overlooking.
Potentially even us.
Yeah, maybe.
So Trudeau starts off with a pretty shocking statistic. Billions of dollars.
Billions with a B?
Billions with a B in unclaimed money held by governments and institutions.
It's crazy.
I mean, think about that.
It is.
Billions of dollars just sitting there.
Makes you wonder why so much of it ends up unclaimed in the first place.
That's a great question, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a combination of things. Sometimes it's just simple forgetfulness.
People move, life gets busy, and they just forget about those old savings bonds.
Well, bank account.
Or bank accounts.
Yeah.
But I also think there's this psychological element too, right?
Oh, sure.
Like people don't believe this free money could actually apply to them.
Right, or they feel like it's too much hassle.
Too overwhelmed.
Yeah, too overwhelmed to even try to claim it.
Yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah, okay.
We assume we're not eligible, so we don't even bother checking. And then Trudeau goes on to give these specific examples, like $15 billion in unredeemed savings bonds.
Crazy.
And get this, $5 billion in unclaimed cash just in California.
Just in California.
In one state.
Wow.
It makes you wonder what's hiding in the rest of the country, right?
Yeah, what are we missing out on?
Exactly. And this is where I think that procrastination can be expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if we keep putting off dealing with our finances, it can literally cost us money.
Because that money is just sitting there out of reach.
You're telling me I'm terrible about this.
Oh, we all are. We all are.
I've got a whole drawer full of financial paperwork that I just keep telling myself I'll deal with later.
A later drawer.
Exactly. I have one too.
But honestly, this deep dive is already inspiring me to get organized.
Well, that's good. Got to start somewhere.
So where do we even start? If someone wants to uncover this unclaimed treasure, what's step one?
Well, Trudeau recommends a website called www.missingmoney.com.
Missingmoney.com.
Yeah, it's free to use. And you can search for unclaimed assets across multiple states. Okay, so that's a great starting point for anyone who thinks they might have some money out there with their name on it.
Absolutely.
I'm bookmarking that one for sure.
Good idea.
So we've got missingmoney.com, okay? But let's talk about those forgotten savings bonds.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people have those tucked away somewhere.
I know, like gifts from grandparents, or maybe you bought some yourself years ago.
You completely forgot about.
And completely forgot about them.
Trudeau tells a story about a guy named Roger.
Oh, Roger.
Who used savings bonds to buy his first house.
Wow.
But totally forgot about some that hadn't matured yet.
Oh, no. Poor Roger.
Well, hopefully he found them eventually.
I hope so.
But it brings up a good point, how do we avoid becoming the next Roger?
Exactly. So is there an easy way to check if we have any of these forgotten savings bonds?
There is. The Treasury Direct website, which is www.savingsbonds.gov.
Savingsbonds.gov.
That's your go-to resource. They've got search tools and even savings bond calculators to help you figure out how much any bonds you find are actually worth.
Amazing. I had no idea this even existed. So we've got missingmoney.com for general unclaimed assets.
Right.
Treasury Direct for savings bonds. But there's another source of free money that Trudeau seems particularly passionate about. Taxes.
Oh, yeah. He goes deep on taxes.
He does. He does.
And it's not just about getting a big refund.
Right.
It's about understanding the nuances of the system.
The loopholes.
Well, I wouldn't say loopholes, but the opportunities that a lot of people miss.
Okay, yeah. And he really emphasizes this difference between tax deductions and tax credits.
Which a lot of people get confused about.
I know, I used to.
It is easy to mix those up.
So can you give us a quick refresher on what that key distinction is?
Sure. So tax deductions.
Okay.
Those reduce your taxable income. while tax credits actually reduce the amount of tax you owe.
Oh?
So think of it this way.
Okay.
A deduction is kind of like getting a discount on a product, but a credit is more like a dollar off coupon.
Okay, I like that. So deductions are like shrinking the pile of money that the government can tax in the first place.
Exactly.
And then credits are like a direct discount off your final bill.
Yeah, like a coupon you can use at checkout.
Exactly. And Trudeau argues that a lot of people are leaving money on the table when it comes to these tax credits.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, they can be incredibly valuable,
Okay.
potentially leading to a much larger refund, or even reducing your tax liability to zero.
Now, see, this is where I'm starting to see the free money angle.
It's all starting to come together.
Yeah.
It is. So what are some of the most valuable tax credits that people should be aware of?
Well, when the book was published, the homebuyer tax credit was a big one.
Okay.
It was pretty new at the time and could be worth up to $8,000.
$8,000. That's a serious chunk of change.
That is, especially for first-time homebuyers.
Okay, what else?
Well, there's the child tax credit, of course,
Mhm.
which can help families with children quite a bit. Okay.
And then there's the Earned Income Tax Credit,
Okay, I've heard of that.
or EITC,
Mm-hmm.
which is specifically for low to moderate income workers.
Okay.
And the great thing about the EITC
Okay.
is that it's refundable,
Refundable.
meaning that even if you don't owe any taxes, you can still get that full credit amount back as a refund.
Wait, so you can actually get money back even if you didn't owe any taxes in the first place?
That's right.
It's like the government is paying you to work.
Essentially, yeah.
That's incredible.
It's a powerful tool.
So Trudeau's saying a lot of people who are actually qualified for this aren't even claiming it.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Oh, man, that's a huge missed opportunity.
It is.
It's like having a winning lottery ticket and never cashing it in.
Perfect analogy.
So we've got all this free money out there,
Yeah.
but people either don't know about it
Right.
or they don't take advantage of it for some reason. So beyond unclaimed assets and these tax benefits, what are some other strategies that Trudeau suggests for getting our finances in shape?
Well, he's a big believer in taking a proactive approach to debt,
Mm.
particularly credit card debt.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
He encourages readers to actually call their creditors
Okay.
and negotiate.
Negotiate.
Yeah, negotiate lower interest rates and fee waivers.
Hold on, you can actually negotiate with these companies.
A lot of people don't realize that.
I just thought those interest rates and fees were set in stone, like you just have to accept them.
That's what they want you to think.
Right. But Trudeau's saying that most people don't even bother trying to negotiate.
Mm-hmm. They just assume it won't work.
So he thinks credit card companies are actually willing to work with you on this.
Oh, often, especially if you've been a good customer.
Okay, so it's all about asking, advocating for ourselves.
That's the key.
So what's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Exactly. And then you're no worse off than you were before.
Right, right.
But you might be surprised at how often you can actually get a better deal just by picking up the phone and having a conversation.
He gives that anecdote about a doctor, right?
Oh, yeah, the one who negotiated his medical bill down by 50%.
50%.
Just by being willing to work with the provider.
It's incredible.
It is. It really shows the power of negotiation.
Okay, so the takeaway here is don't be afraid to speak up and negotiate.
Mm-hmm. It's like a hidden superpower that most of us have, but we don't even use it.
All right, so we've got negotiating with creditors. But what about dealing with those debt collectors?
Oh, yeah.
Those guys can be pretty scary.
They can be.
What does Trudeau have to say about that?
Well, he doesn't hold back when it comes to debt collectors.
Okay.
He's especially critical of those who buy up old debt for pennies on the dollar
Mm-hmm.
and then try to collect the full amount from people who don't know any better.
That sounds incredibly shady.
It can be. It can be.
So what's his advice on how to handle these situations?
Be very cautious.
Especially if they're aggressive or threatening. Know your rights under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act.
Okay, so if a debt collector calls me, what's the best way to handle it?
First of all, never give them any personal information.
Right.
Or acknowledge that the debt is yours until you've verified it.
Okay, so don't confirm my name, address, any of that over the phone.
Right. You don't want to give them anything they could use against you.
Okay.
Get everything in writing
Mm-hmm.
and review anything they send you very carefully.
Okay, what if they start threatening legal action? I know those tactics can be pretty intimidating.
They try to scare people into paying.
Right.
But just remember, stay calm, know your rights,
Okay.
and if you're really unsure about anything, seek legal advice.
Okay, so it's important to remember that I have rights in these situations and that I don't have to just be bullied by these scare tactics.
Absolutely. That's the most important thing.
Okay, so we've covered negotiating with creditors, dealing with those debt collectors.
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, foreclosure.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Trudeau dedicates a whole section of the book to this topic, right?
He does.
So how does he approach it?
Well, he acknowledges that it's a complex issue,
Mm-hmm.
often emotionally charged,
Right.
but he looks at it from both sides, you know?
Okay.
The perspective of someone facing foreclosure
Mm-hmm.
and the perspective of someone looking to capitalize on the foreclosure market.
So it sounds like he sees it as both a potential threat and a potential opportunity.
Exactly. It all depends on your situation.
So for people who are facing foreclosure, what kind of advice does he give?
Well, he talks about how to negotiate with lenders
Mm-hmm.
and potentially avoid losing their homes.
Okay, so what kind of strategies are we talking about here?
Things like loan modification,
Okay.
where you work with your lender to change the terms of your loan to make it more affordable.
Okay.
He also talks about short sales,
Okay.
where you sell your home for less than what you owe on the mortgage, and the lender agrees to accept that lower price.
Okay, so those sound like valuable options for people who are trying to stay in their homes.
They can be, for sure.
But then on the flip side, Trudeau also talks about those banks practically giving away homes, right?
He does. He does.
Like he mentioned homes selling for as little as $1,000.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but it's true.
That still blows my mind. But, okay, before we all get too excited about those bargain prices,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the potential pitfalls that buyers need to be aware of?
That's a great question, and it's important to be realistic.
Okay.
The foreclosure market can offer some amazing deals.
Yeah.
But you got to go in with your eyes wide open.
Right.
Do your research, know what you're getting into,
Okay.
understand that there might be some hidden costs involved.
Like repairs and renovations, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Foreclosed homes often need a lot of work.
So it's like a treasure hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be prepared for the possibility that you're going to find some cobwebs.
Or even a few skeletons in the closet.
Oh, great analogy.
Thanks.
Trudeau also warns against those predatory real estate investors, right? The ones who prey on homeowners who are facing foreclosure.
Oh, yeah, those guys are the worst.
I mean, it's a vulnerable situation, right? So it seems like it would be ripe for scams.
Absolutely. So be very careful who you trust.
And what's his advice on how to protect ourselves from these predators?
Be wary of anyone offering quick and easy solutions,
Okay.
especially if it sounds too good to be true.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
All right, so we've got a lot to be careful of in the foreclosure market.
We do.
But there's also the potential for some great rewards.
There is.
So it's all about being informed, cautious, knowing your rights,
Absolutely.
which is good advice for any financial decision,
I
really.
couldn't agree more.
So this brings us back to Trudeau's central message.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. The
Mhm.
more you know about your finances,
Yeah.
the more control you have over your financial future.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered negotiating with creditors, dealing with debt collectors, navigating the foreclosure market.
Mm-hmm.
What other strategies does Trudeau recommend for maximizing our finances? He talks about grants, right?
He does. He does.
And he kind of busts this myth that grants are only for nonprofits and businesses.
Oh, yeah. He hates that misconception.
He really wants people to understand that grants can be for individuals, too.
Absolutely. For people just like us.
So he's saying that regardless of your background or your circumstances, there's a chance that there's a grant out there that could help you achieve your goals.
That's exactly what he's saying.
I love that. But with so many different types of grants available, where do you even begin to look?
It can be overwhelming, that's for sure.
It is.
But Trudeau provides some great starting points.
Okay, like what?
Well, there's govbenefits.gov.
Govbenefits.gov.
Mm-hmm. They have a personalized grant finder.
Okay.
So it kind of walks you through a series of questions to help you figure out which grants you might be eligible for.
That sounds really helpful.
It is because there are so many options out there.
Okay. What other resources does he suggest?
He also recommends grants.gov,
Grants.gov.
which is a database of federal grants.
Okay.
So you can search by keyword, category, agency.
So if I have a specific project in mind, I could use that site to find relevant grants.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great. And for information on private foundations, he suggests foundationcenter.org.
Another great resource.
Wow, these are some amazing tools.
They are.
It's like there's this whole world of grant opportunities out there that most people don't even know about.
That's right. So don't assume you don't qualify.
Okay.
Do your research, explore those options, and don't be afraid to apply.
I love that.
It's about being proactive.
Right, taking charge of your financial future.
Exactly.
So we've got grants, but Trudeau is also big on this idea of resourcefulness, right?
Oh, yeah, that's one of his favorite topics.
But what does that mean in practice?
It's about finding those creative ways to generate income and reduce your expenses.
Okay, so, like, what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, he gives tons of examples.
Okay.
Selling unwanted items on eBay.
Declutter and make some extra cash.
Exact.
Renting out your home during major events.
Especially if you live in a popular area.
Okay, yeah.
He even talks about bartering skills or services as a way to,
Okay.
to save money or even make some money.
Bartering. That's a throwback.
It is, but it can still be a great option.
It makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, it's all about exchanging value without using cash.
Right, exactly. And in this day and age, finding creative solutions like that can really make a difference.
It can.
So it's all about leveraging those assets you already have, finding ways to make them work for you.
That's the key to being resourceful.
I love that.
Yeah.
This has been an incredibly informative deep dive so far.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
We've uncovered so much information about maximizing our finances, tracking down those unclaimed assets, negotiating with creditors, tapping into the power of grants.
It's amazing how many options are out there,
It really is.
if you're willing to look for them.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning, right?
Oh, yeah. We've got more to come.
There's still so much more free money to uncover.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're back and ready to tackle Kevin Trudeau's take on debt,
Oh, yeah.
specifically credit card debt.
This is where it gets interesting.
This is where things get, interesting because Trudeau's approach is definitely not for the faint of heart.
That's for sure.
He encourages readers to be, assertive, even confrontational when dealing with creditors.
He doesn't mince words, that's for sure.
No, he doesn't. He's all about, taking direct action, right?
Absolutely.
So he argues that we often feel powerless against these large financial institutions, but he wants us to know that we have more leverage than we think.
More power than we realize.
He uses that phrase, the squeaky wheel gets the grease,
Yeah, I remember that.
suggesting that the more persistent we are, the more likely we are to get what we want.
Makes sense.
But honestly, the idea of calling up my credit card company and demanding a lower interest rate,
Yeah.
I don't know, it feels a little intimidating.
It can be, for sure.
What if they just laugh at me?
Well, Trudeau would probably say that's part of the game.
Really?
Yeah, he thinks they're counting on us to be passive.
To just accept those terms.
Exactly.
But if we're willing to, push back and negotiate, we can often secure a better deal.
It's all about knowing your worth.
So what are some of the specific tactics that he suggests?
Well, one of the simplest things he recommends is just calling your credit card company and asking for a lower interest rate.
Wait, you can actually just call and ask?
That's right.
I had no idea.
It sounds too simple, but it can work.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't even bother to try.
So what about those pesky fees? Can you negotiate those as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Like late fees, over-the-limit fees, all that?
Yep, all of that.
Okay.
He recommends calling and asking for those to be waived,
Okay.
especially if they were due to an error on the part of the company.
Right.
But even if it wasn't their fault, it's always worth asking.
It's like we've been conditioned to just accept these fees as inevitable, right?
Yeah, we just automatically pay them without even thinking twice.
Exactly.
But Trudeau says we should always question those fees.
Challenge the system.
Yeah, don't be afraid to push back a little.
Okay, so he gives this example of a woman named Sally, right?
Oh, yeah, Sally.
Who lost her job and was struggling to pay off her credit card debt.
Tough situation.
And instead of giving up, she took action.
She did.
So what does she do?
Well, she called her credit card company
Okay.
and negotiated to have all of the accumulated interest and fees removed from her balance.
Removed.
Yeah, basically she was able to reset her debt to the original amount she had borrowed.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really shows what can happen when you're assertive and you know your rights.
I'm starting to think we all need to channel our inner Sally when it comes to our finances.
Maybe we do. Maybe we do.
Okay, so we've covered negotiating with creditors. But what about dealing with those debt collectors? Those guys can be pretty intense.
Oh, yeah, they can be ruthless.
So what does Trudeau say about them?
Well, he's not a fan, that's for sure.
Okay.
He's particularly critical of those who buy up old debt for pennies on the dollar and then harass people trying to collect the full amount.
It's like they're preying on the vulnerable, right?
Exactly. It's predatory.
So what's his advice on how to handle these situations?
Well, first of all, be very cautious.
Okay.
Don't give them any information until you've verified everything.
Okay, so don't confirm my name, address, any of that over the phone.
That's right. Don't give them anything they could use against you.
Okay.
Get everything in writing and review it carefully.
What if they start threatening legal action?
Mm-hmm. That's a common tactic.
Right, and it can be scary.
It can be, but try to stay calm.
Okay.
Remember, they're often just using scare tactics.
To get people to pay.
Exactly.
So if I'm unsure about my rights or the collectors being super aggressive...
Seek legal advice.
Okay, so it's important to remember that I have rights in these situations.
Absolutely.
And that I don't have to be bullied by these tactics.
You have the power to stand up for yourself.
Okay, so we've got negotiating with creditors, dealing with those debt collectors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about foreclosure.
The big F.
Yeah, Trudeau dedicates a whole section of the book to this.
It does. It's a major issue.
So how does he approach it?
Well, he recognizes that it's complex and often very emotionally charged.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He looks at it from both sides,
Okay.
people facing foreclosure and people looking to capitalize on the foreclosure market.
Right, so it's both a threat and an opportunity.
Exactly. It all depends on your perspective.
So for people facing foreclosure, what kind of advice does he give?
Well, he talks about how to negotiate with lenders to try and avoid losing their homes.
So what are some of the strategies there?
Things like loan modification,
Okay.
where you work with your lender to change the terms of your loan.
You make it more affordable.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And he also talks about short sales,
Oh, yeah.
where you sell your home for less than what you owe in the mortgage. And the lender agrees to accept that lower price.
Okay, so those sound like good options for people trying to stay in their homes.
They can be, for sure.
But then Trudeau also mentions those banks practically giving away homes, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
He talked about homes selling for as little as $1,000.
Hard to believe, but it happens?
It does. It does. But, okay, before we all jump on those bargain prices,
Right.
what are some of the potential pitfalls that buyers need to be aware of?
Well, it's important to do your due diligence. Research the property, understand the potential costs.
Like repairs, renovations.
Exactly. Foreclosed homes often need a lot of work.
Right, so those costs can add up quickly.
They can.
It's like, it's a treasure hunt, but you gotta be prepared to find a few cobwebs.
Maybe even some skeletons in the closet.
Another great analogy.
You got it.
And Trudeau also warns against those predatory investors. Right?
Oh, yeah, the ones who target homeowners facing foreclosure.
It's a vulnerable situation.
It is, it is.
So it seems like it would be ripe for scams.
Absolutely be very careful who you trust.
So what's his advice on how to protect ourselves from these predators?
Well, be wary of anyone offering quick and easy solutions,
Okay.
especially if it sounds too good to be true.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
So there's a lot to be careful of in this market.
There is. It's not for the faint of heart.
But there's also the potential for some great rewards.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's all about being informed, cautious, and knowing your rights.
That's the key to success in any market.
All right, so we've got negotiating with creditors, dealing with those debt collectors, navigating the foreclosure market.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But Trudeau doesn't stop there, right?
Oh, no, he's just getting started.
He goes on to talk about grants
Hmm.
and really emphasizes that they're not just for nonprofits and businesses.
He wants everyone to know that.
They're for individuals, too.
Absolutely.
So regardless of your background, your circumstances, there might be a grant out there that could help you
There probably is. You just got to find it.
achieve your goals.
Exactly.
I love that idea.
It's empowering,
It is.
knowing that there's help available.
But with so many different types of grants out there, where do you even begin to look?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. It is.
But Trudeau gives us some good starting points.
Okay, like what?
Well, there's govbenefits.gov.
Okay, govbenefits.gov.
They have this personalized grant finder.
A grant finder.
Yeah, it asks you a bunch of questions.
Okay.
Helps you narrow down the options.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds really helpful.
It is.
Kevin.
He also recommends grants.gov,
Grants.gov.
which is a database of federal grants.
Okay.
So you can search by keyword, category, agency.
So if I've got a specific project in mind, I can use that to find relevant grants.
Exactly.
Okay, and for private foundations.
He suggests foundationcenter.org.
Okay, so we've got governbenefits.gov, grants.gov, foundationcenter.org.
Those are your starting points.
It's amazing how many resources are out there
It is, if you know where to look.
that most people probably don't even know about.
That's right.
And Trudeau's message is clear. Don't assume you don't qualify.
That's a big one.
Do your research, explore your options, and don't be afraid to apply.
It's all about taking that first step.
I love that. It's about being proactive,
Absolutely.
taking charge of your financial future.
Exactly.
So we've got grants, but Trudeau is also big on this idea of resourcefulness, right?
Oh, yeah, he's all about that.
What does that look like in practice?
Finding creative ways to generate income and reduce your expenses.
Okay, so what kind of things are we talking about here?
Well, he gives tons of examples.
Okay.
Selling unwanted items on eBay.
Okay, decluttering,
Exactly.
making some extra cash.
Renting out your home during major events.
Okay, especially if you're in a popular area.
Right.
He even talks about bartering skills or services. Bartering, that's so old school.
It is, but it still works.
It makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, it's all about exchanging value without using cash.
Right, exactly. And these days, finding creative solutions like that can really make a difference.
It can.
So it's about leveraging those assets you already have, making them work for you.
That's the key to being resourceful.
I love that.
It's empowering.
It is. It is.
Knowing that you have options.
So we've covered grants. We've talked about resourcefulness. What other strategies does Trudeau suggest for maximizing our finances? He dives into class action lawsuits, right?
He does.
As another potential source of free money.
That's right. It's not something people usually think about.
No, it's not something I usually think about as a way to, make money.
Right. It's a bit unconventional.
But Trudeau argues that a lot of people are eligible for settlements from these lawsuits without even realizing it.
They just don't know.
So how do you even find out if you're eligible?
Well, he recommends a website called topclassactions.com.
Topclassactions.com.
Yeah, it's got a database of ongoing class action lawsuits and open settlements.
So I could potentially go to this site and find out that I'm entitled to money from a lawsuit I didn't even know about.
It's possible. You never know.
It's like finding hidden treasure.
It kind of is, yeah.
So he's saying a lot of people miss out on these settlements because they don't bother to check.
They just don't think to look.
So be proactive.
Absolutely.
Explore this potential source of income.
Could be worth it.
All right, I'm adding topclassactions.com to my list.
Good idea.
So what about generating quick cash? Trudeau mentioned some pretty bold ideas for that, right?
Oh, yeah. He's got a whole chapter called 10 Ways to Make $10,000 in a Day.
$10,000 in a day? That sounds a little too good to be true.
It does, but he's got some interesting ideas.
Okay, like what?
Well, some are pretty standard.
Okay.
Selling items on eBay, renting out your home.
Classic side hustle strategies.
Yeah, but he also gets into some less conventional approaches.
Okay,
Like licensing a product or idea to an infomercial company.
To an infomercial company.
Yeah.
You never know.
So if you've got a knack for marketing or a unique invention...
It could be a way to make some quick cash.
Interesting.
He also suggests auditioning for modeling or acting gigs.
Really?
Yeah, there's always a need for everyday people in commercials and stuff.
So even if you're not a professional...
You could make some money on the side.
Okay, what else?
He even suggests tapping into your retirement savings.
Okay, that's getting a little risky.
It is. He stresses that it should only be a last resort. Only in specific circumstances.
Exactly.
Okay. What else?
He talks about peer-to-peer lending platforms.
Borrowing from individuals instead of banks.
That's right.
And even getting a cash advance on your credit card.
Though, again, that should be a last resort.
Because those fees and interest rates can really add up.
They can.
So Trudeau gives us this whole range of strategies, from traditional to unconventional.
Some more viable than others.
Right. It's about assessing your own situation.
Choosing what's right for you.
So he's all about being resourceful, thinking outside the box, exploring every avenue for income.
Absolutely, leaving no stone unturned.
I love that. It's about taking control, not being afraid to get creative.
That's how you find the free money.
This has been fascinating.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
Unclaimed assets, debt negotiation, foreclosure, all these quick cash strategies.
It's eye-opening.
It is.
To realize how many options there are.
If you're willing to look for them.
That's the key.
And we're not done yet.
Oh no, there's more to come.
Stay tuned. We're going to dive even deeper into Trudeau's world of free money. Okay, so we've uncovered all these ways to find free money, forgotten savings bonds, negotiating with creditors, even exploring foreclosure opportunities.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. It has.
Through Trudeau's World of Finance.
But he doesn't stop there, right? He goes beyond those big picture ideas
Right.
and offers advice on how to save money in specific areas of our lives.
Gets into the nitty-gritty.
Like, for example, transportation.
Oh, yeah, transportation costs can really add up.
Especially if you rely on a car.
Yeah, gas, insurance, maintenance, it all adds up.
So what does Trudeau suggest?
Well, he highlights a program called Wheels to Work.
Wheels to Work.
Which helps people get reliable transportation so they can get to their jobs.
That sounds like a great resource.
It is, especially if you need a car to work but can't afford it.
Exactly.
And he mentions organizations like Catholic Charities and Goodwill, which often have programs to help with car repairs or even provide donated vehicles.
So there are options out there.
There are. You just got to know where to look.
It's good to know that there's help available.
For those who need it.
Even if you don't need those kinds of programs,
Right.
Trudeau suggests things like carpooling or ride sharing to save money on transportation.
Exactly. Those are always good options.
Plus, it's better for the environment.
Right. A win-win.
Speaking of saving money, Trudeau also talks about food,
Oh, yeah, the food budget.
which can be a huge expense for a lot of families.
It is. Groceries seem to get more expensive every day.
I know.
But Trudeau has some good tips.
Okay, like what?
Well, he suggests eating at home more often.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's almost always cheaper than eating out.
Definitely.
He also recommends using restaurant coupons and specials
Okay.
and joining grocery store loyalty programs.
To get those discounts and rewards.
Exactly. Every little bit helps.
I'm a big fan of meal planning.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Helps me avoid those impulse purchases at the store.
And those expensive takeout meals.
Exactly.
But beyond those individual actions, Trudeau also highlights some important programs.
Like what?
Well, there's SNP,
Okay.
which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Used to be called food stamps.
That's right.
And that can be a real lifeline for low-income families,
It can. It makes sure people have access to food.
regardless of their financial situation.
Exactly.
He also mentions food banks and community kitchens.
Those are great resources for emergency food assistance.
It's good to know that there's that safety net in place.
Absolutely. No one should have to go hungry.
And Trudeau even suggests things like community gardens and urban farming.
Oh, yeah, I like that idea.
So people can grow their own food
And save some money.
and be more self-sufficient.
Exactly. It's all about taking control.
This deep dive has been incredible.
I agree.
We've uncovered so much valuable information about maximizing our finances.
We have, from tracking down unclaimed assets to negotiating with creditors.
To tapping into the power of grants.
It's been a wild ride through Trudeau's world of free money.
And while some of his strategies might seem a little out there,
Right. Not all of them are going to work for everyone.
I think his passion for helping people is undeniable.
Oh, yeah. He really wants people to succeed.
And his core message is something that resonates with all of us.
Okay.
We deserve financial security, and there are more resources available than we realize.
If we're willing to look for them.
Exactly.
That's the key.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listener to remember?
I think Trudeau said it best. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
The more you know about your finances, the more control you have.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Explore your options.
Challenge the status quo.
You might be surprised at what you discover.
That's right.
And remember, this deep dive is just a starting point.
Yeah, it's a jumping off point.
Take what you learned
Do your own research.
and see what free money you can uncover.
You might be surprised at what you find.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Kevin Trudeau's free money they don't want you to know about.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy treasure.
Did you get any of that?